have waited long enough. This is Do It Already, the podcast that gets you out of your head and into your power. We talk mindset, neuroscience, and the no BS truth about what it really takes to change your life starting now. Okay, so today we are talking about self-trust, the foundation of everything. Because if you don't trust yourself, nothing feels safe. Not your decisions, not your relationships, not your future. Every major choice that you're going to have to make in life is going to feel like a gamble. And every new direction that could change your life for the better is going to feel like danger. But here's the truth that no one tells you. You cannot out-affirm a nervous system that doesn't feel safe with you. Your mind only expands to the level your body believes it's safe to follow. And that safety, that real cellular level safety, comes from self-trust. Self-trust is what allows you to take action, hold boundaries, make decisions, and finally believe in your own word again. Without it, you're stuck in survival mode, searching for signs, waiting for permission, outsourcing your power. With it, you're going to move differently because you're going to stop chasing certainty outside of you and start generating it from within. And the most part that people miss, look, self-trust isn't something that you're born with. It is something that you build through your micro habits. And before we get into how micro habits work, we need to talk about why they work. And we need to talk about the neuroscience behind self-trust. So let's dive into the neuroscience of self-trust here. So your brain is a prediction machine. It is constantly scanning for what's safe and what's risky. And how it does that is it uses your past behavior to predict your future. I want to be very clear here. There is no judgment about what I'm about to say because we've all been here. But if you have a pattern of saying that you'll do something and not follow through on it, your amygdala, which is your brain's threat detector, starts flagging you as unreliable. And this isn't dramatic. This is not judgmental. It is just neuroscience. Your nervous system literally stops trusting your own word. And so then whenever it's actually time to make a decision, start something new, take a risk, have a conversation, your brain hesitates. It floods you with cortisol and adrenaline and basically goes, we've been here before, and historically, they don't follow through. This is why indecision and anxiety are so connected. Not because you're weak, not because you're broken, but because your brain has a self-trust gap. And until that pattern changes, nothing you say, do, affirm, or even try to visualize, no hype content is going to override your biology. Mindset without self-trust is just mental gymnastics. Your nervous system has to believe you're safe to change. So how do we rebuild that trust? Through neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself through repetition. So every time you do follow through, even on something tiny, neurons in your prefrontal cortex, which is where your planning, decision-making, higher thinking basically lives, and basal ganglia, which is your habit center, fire together. Again, fire, wire, automatic. That is Hebb's law from episode 1. Neurons that fire together, wire together. You're literally teaching your brain, this is who we are now. And just as a practical example, I want you to think of that person in your life who wakes up every morning at the crack of dawn every single day to work out. They were not born like that. Babies don't crawl out of the crib doing squats at dawn. It first started as a choice for them, then it became a habit, and then it became their identity. So much so, I can probably guess you're picturing that very specific person. And then, of course, it became automatic. That is neuroplasticity. And this applies to everything. Your boundaries, your emotional regulation, slowing down, your presence, your consistency. Because over time, repetition strengthens the communication line between your prefrontal cortex and your basal ganglia, and it shifts control away from the amygdala. That is why consistent micro habits make your decisions feel calmer and clearer. Your brain literally stops flagging every choice as dangerous. So let's jump into the research here for a second. Harvard research actually shows that predictable routines such as micro habits can lower your cortisol. And then the University College London found that behaviors actually become automatic around 66 days. However, if you'll remember from episode 1, the urgency effect can reduce that dramatically. And then Stanford found that your identity network, your default mode network, updates based on behavior, not intention. So when you follow through, even in small ways, you're not just keeping a promise. You're teaching your brain a new story. I can trust me. And that is the root of clarity. That is the root of peace. Not big leaps like everybody thinks it needs to be, but microscopic proof that your nervous system is safe in your care. Because your brain, again, is always calculating risk. The amygdala remembers every broken promise, every I'll start tomorrow, every abandoned habit, every goal you meant to do. So it compensates by trying to keep you safe, which looks like overthinking, procrastination, and fear. That chemical loop shuts down your prefrontal cortex, again, that part of your brain responsible for long term decisions. However, each time you do follow through by sending the message, holding the boundary, finishing what you start, you send updated data back to the brain that says, hey, see, we handled that. Your cortisol drops, your dopamine stabilizes, your serotonin balances, and that prefrontal cortex comes back online. Because self trust is not a mindset. It is not a mindset. It is a biochemical permission slip for your brain to use its higher functions. Because whenever your brain trusts you, it stops bracing for disaster. It stops wasting unnecessary energy checking to see if you're safe to act. And that is when decisions feel easy. That is when creativity opens. That is when your beliefs begin to stick because your actions are finally proving them true. Now, we can actually talk about what micro habits are and why they work. And before I share mine, I want to tell you what a micro habit is by definition. So, by definition, micro habits are small, manageable daily actions that are easy to incorporate into your routine and can lead to significant long term changes. They are designed to be simple, require little willpower, and when performed consistently, can build momentum for larger goals. That is the definition. This is not about productivity, aesthetics, or morning routine performance. Micro habits work because your nervous system doesn't respond to what you intend. It responds to what you repeat. They are the receipts your brain uses to update your identity. And this is where your daily habits come in, not as routines, but as identity signals. So when I talk about the things I do daily, I am not giving you morning routine fluff. I am showing you how I rebuilt my internal credibility one data point at a time. So I'm going to walk you through what I do daily. And P.S., I want you to recognize what I do, these micro habits don't take that long out of my day. So before I get out of bed, I do breath work. Whatever I feel like that morning, whether it's a slow inhale, longer exhale, box breathing, whatever I feel like, honestly. And this is literally telling my vagus nerve, I am not starting my day in survival. And when the nervous system starts in safety, my prefrontal cortex, that place where clarity, planning, decision making turns on faster. Because breath work is not about calm. It's about starting the day with a body that trusts me to regulate it. And P.S., I also end each day with breath work before I go to sleep. I'm very, very dedicated to this one. Every morning before I have coffee, I drink water before I have that coffee ever touch my mouth. And I love coffee. I love coffee. Yes, I know drinking water is hydration, but internally, it's much more than that. It's that first one of the day that says my body comes first. Why? Because water helps flush out the cortisol that naturally rises overnight. I'm not going to roll out of bed and pile caffeine on top of stress hormones. That is how you start your day in survival mode. So drinking water first, even if it's, a couple sips, is that first micro boundary with myself, a signal to my nervous system that says we regulate before we stimulate. It's the first piece of evidence my brain logs as we prioritize us. We take care of ourselves. We follow through. I also do my hair and makeup every single day. And this is identity work, not vanity work. I don't do this to hear you look pretty. I'm not doing it for external validation. I do it because one, it makes me feel good. And two, it signals to myself and the world that I take myself seriously and I show up for me. Because whenever I look in the mirror, I want to see the person I'm becoming. And the one who moves with intention, the one who honors her effort, the one who shows up for herself. And Stanford calls this identity congruence. Your brain sees the external signal and goes, oh, this is who we are now. I'm reinforcing my identity through my actions. I also try to get sunlight within an hour of waking. And yes, this not only helps reset my circadian rhythm, which boosts dopamine, it also stabilizes my energy for the entire day. But the deeper layer, again, it builds consistency. And consistency is how the nervous system learns safety. When you give your brain the same predictable cue every morning, it lowers baseline cortisol and tells your body, you can trust this rhythm of life. This is self regulation disguised as me opening my window or walking outside. I also walk every afternoon, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever I feel like that day. And this is a non negotiable because movement metabolizes cortisol. It clears stress chemicals before they can hijack my decisions. It opens up my prefrontal cortex so I can think clearly instead of reactively. Because a regulated body always makes better choices. A dysregulated one defaults to fear. So, walking for me has become a form of self trust reinforcement. It's me telling my nervous system, I won't abandon you when you're stressed. I'll support you. And I walk if I'm stressed or if I'm not. It's just my daily routine now. And on top of that, I get a little extra bonus because that afternoon sunlight also helps reset my circadian rhythm, which sets me up for a deeper sleep at night. So it's not just a walk, it's me also partnering with my biology. And I do other things, but those are just a couple of previews. But again, they don't take a lot of time out of my day. And these are not just my routines, they're receipts that I keep my word, receipts that built my self trust. Because every micro habit is a micro message. I'm not leaving you. And your brain listens. It always listens. It updates your belief system based on what you repeatedly show it. Because your nervous system only believes what you show it through evidence. So if you're constantly setting goals but not following through, the hippocampus stores that as incongruent. It actually tags your new intentions as unreliable. That is why affirmations can feel fake. That is why those vision boards sometimes don't land. It's not that the tools don't work, it's just that your body doesn't buy it yet. But when your micro habits begin stacking, your nervous system goes, oh, okay, we are the person who follows through now. This is what Stanford calls self referential updating. Your actions rewrite your identity. Your beliefs start catching up. You no longer believe in your goals because they're written down on a page. You believe in them because your brain has evidence that you will follow through. Confidence becomes internal. Decisions become easy. Doubt quiets down. Your future stops feeling like a threat. All because your nervous system finally trusts the person making the decisions. You. Self trust is not about habit. It's not even about discipline. Truly, self trust is the operating system behind how you show up in every area of your life. And here's what self trust actually changes. Okay. Here's what it actually changes. You make better decisions, which come from safety, not pressure. You make your worst decisions when your amygdala is in charge. You are second guessing, you're overthinking, you're catastrophizing, but you make your best decisions when the prefrontal cortex is online. You're clear, you're grounded, and strategic. Self trust is the bridge between those two. When you start trusting yourself, your brain stops burning glucose on what if I screw this up or what could go wrong, and instead focuses on what makes sense right now. Harvard literally shows that predictability, even tiny predictable behaviors, reduces cortisol enough to restore executive function, aka it restores your prefrontal cortex. So yeah. Your habit of drinking water before coffee absolutely affects your 2 p.m. decision making at work. Self trust also determines how you show up in relationships. Because if you don't trust yourself, you will overattach, underattach, chase validation, ask other people to make decisions for you, distrust good things, and sabotage when things feel too calm. Because your nervous system isn't anchored internally. When you do trust yourself, You stop outsourcing stability. You stop choosing from fear. You stop tolerating BS. You finally start choosing from standards instead of abandonment wounds. Self trust is what lets you walk away. Self trust is what lets you stay. Self trust is what lets you love without losing yourself. Self trust also shapes your expectations and your outcomes. Because again, your brain is constantly predicting your future based on your past behavior. So when you don't follow through, your brain literally expects failure to repeat. So it limits your vision, it shrinks your goals, and it protects you from disappointment by lowering the ceiling. But when you start stacking small wins, your predictive coding system adjusts upwards. Your brain goes, oh, we can actually do stuff now. And suddenly you're not trying to expand. Your brain is expanding for you. That is why people say, when I started doing small habits, everything changed. It's not the habits that they did, it's the self trust that was built behind them. So let's recap this for a second. Because again, Stanford research shows that your default mode network, that part of your brain that handles identity, updates itself based on behavior, not intention. So this means every time you follow through, your identity shifts towards, I am someone who can. Every time you abandon yourself, your identity shifts towards, I don't follow through. Identity is not revealed, it's trained. And here's the best part: once your identity shifts, your behavior becomes easy. You don't have to fight for motivation. You don't have to negotiate with yourself. You don't have to pep talk your way into action. You just do the thing because that's who you are now. Self trust is the foundation of identity change, and micro habits are the brick. And that's the pattern. Self trust shapes your thoughts, your choices, your relationships, your outcomes, and ultimately the identity your brain thinks you live inside. Identity doesn't shift because you want it to. Identity shifts because your nervous system gets consistent proof that a new version of you is real. And once you understand that, the next questions become, how do I rebuild that? Where do I start? And how do I create habits my brain will actually believe? And the truth is, you don't rebuild self trust through intensity or pressure. You rebuild it through small, intentional moments of follow through that repair the exact places where you stop trusting yourself. This is where micro habits come in, not the whole aesthetic Pinterest routines, not the Instagram high value habits. I am talking about micro habits specifically designed to stabilize the parts of your identity that feel wobbly. So I'm going to break down exactly how to implement them, because the micro habits for you are the ones that repair the places where you don't trust yourself yet. That is it. That is the formula. And there are 6 steps to get there. And I don't want to hear a freaking word about, oh my God, 6 steps, that's a lot. Hush. Okay, just listen. So, step 1, you need to ask yourself where you break your own word. And this is not about guilt. This is not about self loathing. It's literal data, because your nervous system remembers every broken promise. And that's where your micro habits need to go. So, for example, do you say that you want to wake up earlier, but you don't? That's a circadian rhythm habit. Do you say that you'll move more but avoid it? That's a physical regulation habit. Do you say that you'll be more present or think things through but stay on your phone? That's a nervous system habit. Do you say that you'll take care of yourself but rush through your mornings? That's an identity habit. Your micro habits should directly target the crack in your self trust. Number 2, you need to choose the smallest action that creates the biggest identity shift. Not the hardest, not the cutest, the most identity reinforcing. Because micro habits aren't about productivity, they're about identity. So, for example, drinking water before coffee. I take care of my body first. Making the bed every morning. And P.S. I make my bed and my son's bed every morning. And that signals I complete the things I start. Breath work. I regulate before I react. Exercising. I move my body because I respect it. Hair and makeup routine. I show up for myself, not for validation. Micro habits should make you feel like the future version of you. Number 3, you want to attach the habit to an existing anchor. And this is what neuroscience calls habit stacking, because your brain loves predictable sequencing. So I want you to think, I drink water before I get out of bed. After I wake up, I open the blinds to get sunlight. After I have lunch, I take a 5-minute walk. After putting the kids down, I do 60 seconds of breath work. You don't need motivation. You just need pairing. Number 4, focus on the signal, not the size. Micro habits work because of the meaning behind them, not the duration. A 30-second habit done daily will rewire your identity faster than a 2-hour habit done twice a month. Ask yourself this: what does this habit announce to my brain about who I am? That is the key. Number 5, you want to track the feeling, not the streak, because self trust is not built from perfection. It's built from pattern recognition. Your nervous system needs to feel your consistency. So instead of like checking off boxes, you want to notice shifts like: do I feel calmer? Do I feel more grounded in my decisions? Do I rebound faster from stress? Do I feel proud of myself when I keep this promise? That is neuroplasticity in real time. And then number 6, you want to start with one habit that strengthens one belief. Here's the rule: one identity, one habit, one promise. So, for example, if the identity is I honor my body, your micro habit and promise is water before coffee. If the identity is I'm someone who shows up, your micro habit is I do my hair and makeup every morning or I look presentable every day. If the identity is I regulate instead of reacting, your micro habit is 2 minutes of breath work. If the identity is I trust my own decisions, your micro habit is one daily non negotiable, a tiny action you decide ahead of time and keep. And this could be I take a 5-minute walk after lunch. I close my laptop at the time I said I would. I drink water before coffee. I do my breath work. Making a small decision and honoring it teaches your brain my choices matter and I follow them. This directly strengthens your prefrontal cortex activation, which is your decision making, over your amygdala, which is your fear and doubt center. You don't build self trust through overwhelm, you build it through repetition because every micro habit is a vote for the person that you're becoming, a vote for safety, a vote for clarity, a vote for a life where you actually trust your own voice again. You don't have to burn your life down to change it. You just have to give your brain evidence. So drink the water, do the breath work, get the sunlight, take the walk, keep your word. Your brain is always listening. Your nervous system is recalibrating. Your identity is rewriting one tiny promise at a time. Self trust is not the reward, it is the prerequisite, it is the foundation everything else sits on. You've waited long enough. Go ahead and make that micro habit your daily action and go do it already. Okay, if you love this episode, follow Do It Already wherever you listen. Drop a quick review and a rating and share it with someone who's been stuck in their head for way too long. And if you want more mindset resets, behind the scenes, or just a quick kick in the ass when you need it, come hang with me on TikTok and Instagram at Do It Already Podcast.